Part 1. The passenger seat. If you want to know how a marriage dies, don't look for lipstick on a collar or a random hotel receipt. Those are movie tropes for stupid people. My wife Claire was not a stupid person. She was a senior project manager for a commercial real estate developer in Seattle. Her entire career was built on mitigating risk, managing timelines, and hiding structural flaws until they could be quietly patched. The betrayal didn't start with a bang. It started with the passenger seat of her Honda CR-V. It was a Tuesday in early April. My car was in the shop for a busted alternator, so I asked to borrow hers to grab some Thai takeout down the street. When I slid into the passenger side to check the glove box for a spare charging cable, my knees slammed into the dashboard. I'm 6 feet 1 inch. Claire is 5 feet 4 inches. When we drove together, I always pushed the passenger seat all the way back. Claire rarely had passengers, and when she did, it was usually her sister, who is even shorter than her. The seat was adjusted for someone right in the middle, someone maybe 5 feet 9 inches or 5 feet 10 inches. I didn't immediately think, my wife is cheating on me, I just thought it was weird. I pushed the seat back, grabbed the food and went home. I casually asked her about it over pad thai. Hey, did you give someone a ride today? The passenger seat was pushed way up. Claire didn't flinch. She didn't drop her fork or look away. She just chewed, swallowed, and frowned slightly in annoyance. Yeah, I had to run to the Bellevue site with Marcus. His Tesla was practically dead, and he didn't want to wait for a supercharger. I swear the guy is insufferable. He spent 20 minutes complaining about the suspension in my car. Marcus was an independent architectural consultant her firm had hired back in January. Claire had been complaining about him for months. According to her, he was arrogant, micromanaged her timelines, and wore too much cologne. It was the perfect cover. By making me hate Marcus, she ensured I would never be suspicious of him. I even felt a little bad for her having to deal with the guy. 2 weeks later, the second detail dropped. We were on the couch watching Netflix. Claire's phone was on the coffee table. Usually her screen lit up like a Christmas tree with Slack messages and group chats. That night it was dead dark. I realized I hadn't heard a single chime from her phone in days. "Did you get a new phone?" I asked. "No," she said, keeping her eyes on the TV. "I just put everything on focus mode after 6 p.m. My therapist suggested it. The work-life bleed was spiking my anxiety." It made perfect sense. She had been stressed. She had been complaining about burnout. It was a completely logical, impenetrable excuse. But a week after that, I was reviewing our joint checking account to pay the property taxes. I noticed 3 ATM withdrawals over the past month. $200, $150, $300. We never used cash. We live in a city where you can tap your card for a pack of gum. When I asked her about it, she sighed, rubbing her temples like I was exhausting her. "Ryan, is for the office baby shower for Jenna and the retirement gift for Tom. It's easier to just pull cash than have 15 people Venmo me. Do you really need to audit me over a few $100? I felt a hot flush of shame. "No, I'm sorry. I was just balancing the spreadsheet." "Well, maybe trust me a little," she snapped, grabbing her laptop and going to the bedroom. I sat there feeling like a controlling, toxic husband. I bought her flowers the next day to apologize. That was my first mistake. I let her set the baseline that my questions were an attack on her character. The fourth detail was the intimacy. It didn't stop. That's another myth, that the cheating spouse cuts you off. Instead, it changed. It felt performative. In late May, she initiated sex on a Wednesday afternoon when I was working from home. She was aggressive, maintaining intense eye contact, asking me to do things she usually hated. I thought we were having a breakthrough. I thought the focus mode and stress management were working. Looking back, she wasn't looking at me. She was using my body to replay a memory of someone else. The final crack in the facade happened on a Friday. She came home at 7 p.m., kissed me on the cheek, and dropped her gym bag by the door. She smelled like her usual lavender lotion, but beneath it was the faint, unmistakable scent of spearmint. Claire hated mint. She used cinnamon toothpaste. She claimed mint gave her headaches. I walked into the kitchen, my heart doing a strange heavy flutter in my chest. I poured a glass of water and tried to steady my hands. "She's cheating on you," a voice in my head said. "You're insane," my rational brain argued. "She gave a coworker a ride, she's stressed, she handles the office gifts, and she chewed a piece of gum. You are literally inventing a conspiracy." But the seed was planted. And the next week, I completely lost my mind and made the worst mistake of my life. Part 2. The Unraveling. I became obsessed. I couldn't sleep. Every time she looked at her phone, my chest tightened. I was hyper-analyzing her tone of voice, the way she dressed, the way she locked the bathroom door when she showered. By mid-June, the anxiety was eating me alive. I wasn't some cold, calculating mastermind. I was a terrified, insecure guy who loved his wife and felt her slipping through his fingers. One night at 2 a.m., after she had taken her usual Zez-Quil and passed out, I broke. I crept over to her side of the bed, my hands shaking violently, and took her phone. I walked into the guest bathroom and locked the door. I typed in her passcode, her childhood zip code. It worked. I opened her texts, nothing. I opened WhatsApp, nothing. Slack, Instagram DMs, email, nothing. The only messages with Marcus were boring, professional updates about zoning permits. I felt a massive wave of relief, instantly followed by crushing guilt. I was invading her privacy. I was the bad guy. I went back to the bedroom to put the phone on her nightstand. I bumped my knee against the bed frame. It wasn't a loud noise, but it was enough. Claire shifted, her eyes fluttering open. She saw me standing over her in the dark, clutching her phone. "Ryan?" she mumbled, her voice thick with sleep. Then she sat up, the realization hitting her. "Are you going through my phone?" I froze like a deer in headlights. I couldn't even lie. Claire, I'm sorry. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She looked at me with a profound, terrifying disgust. "You're snooping through my phone while I'm sleeping?" Her voice was whisper quiet, which was infinitely worse than shouting. "I've just been feeling this distance between us," I stammered, my voice cracking. I was practically crying. I felt pathetic. The cash withdrawals, the seat in the car, I just got in my own head. "I'm so sorry." She turned on the bedside lamp. The glare was blinding. The seat in the car, the office gifts. "Are you out of your mind, Ryan? You think I'm having an affair because I gave a coworker a ride 3 months ago?" "I don't know what I think. I broke down. I sat on the edge of the bed and put my face in my hands, sobbing. The stress of the last 2 months just poured out of me. Claire watched me cry. She didn't comfort me. "I can't live like this, Ryan. I can't live with a warden. I'm busting my ass at work, trying to keep my head above water, and I come home to a husband who stalks my electronics." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll go to therapy. I'll fix it." "You better," she said coldly. She took her phone from my hand, turned off the lamp, and rolled over. For the next month, I was the perfect penitent husband. I started seeing a therapist for trust issues. I cooked, I cleaned, I gave her space. I convinced myself that I was the problem. Claire was distant, but I felt I deserved it. I was working off a debt. Then she dropped the financial bomb. It was late July. We were drinking coffee on a Sunday morning. She seemed warmer than she had been in weeks. She touched my arm, smiling softly. "Hey," she said. "I was looking at the Zillow estimate for the house. Our equity has skyrocketed since they rezoned the neighborhood for that new tech campus." "Yeah, it's pretty crazy," I agreed, just happy we were having a normal conversation. "I was thinking," she continued, tracing the rim of her mug, "we've talked about expanding the kitchen and adding a sunroom for years. What if we took out a HELOC, a home equity line of credit? We could pull out about $120,000, do the renovations, and the property value would outpace the debt within 2 years. My firm has a contractor who owes us a favor. He could do the work at cost." I hesitated. $120,000 was a lot of debt to take on, even secured against the house. Interest rates aren't great right now, Claire. But construction costs are only going up, she countered smoothly. And I want to build a life here with you, Ryan. A real future. I want this house to be perfect for us. It was exactly what I desperately wanted to hear. She was talking about our future. She was committing. I was so desperate to prove that I trusted her. So desperate to repair the damage I thought I caused by snooping that I ignored the knot in my stomach. Okay, I said. Let's look into it. She handled all the paperwork. She brought the documents to the kitchen island 3 days later. We were doing a joint application because both our names were on the deed. I read through the terms. It was a standard HELOC with a local credit union. The money would be deposited into a new joint checking account specifically for the renovation, and then we would wire it to the contractor in 2 installments. I signed it. I didn't know I was signing my own execution warrant. The breakthrough came a week later, completely by accident. Our Wi-Fi had been dropping out, so I logged into the router's admin portal on my desktop to check the firmware. While I was in the settings, I clicked on the Connected Devices tab to see if a neighbor was piggybacking on our network. There was my PC, my phone, Claire's iPhone, the smart TV, and the thermostat. And then there was a device labeled iPhone 13. We both had iPhone 15s. We didn't own an iPhone 13. I checked the connection history. It only ever connected between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., and occasionally on weekend afternoons. My blood ran cold. The anxiety I had buried under months of therapy came roaring back, but this time it was sharp, focused. I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I waited until she left for the gym on Saturday morning. I started tearing the house apart. I didn't look in obvious places. I thought like Claire. Where do you hide a burner phone from a husband you already caught snooping? I found it in the laundry room. We had a heavy industrial-size box of powdered detergent on the bottom shelf that we rarely used because we preferred pods. I dug my hand into the powder. About halfway down, my fingers brushed against a hard plastic Ziploc bag. I pulled it out. Inside was a black iPhone 13, turned off. I plugged it in. It booted up. No passcode. She was arrogant enough to assume I'd never find it, so she didn't bother locking it, or she needed to access it quickly in the dark. I opened the messages. There was only one contact, saved as M. It was Marcus. I sat on the cold tile floor of the laundry room and read. It wasn't just a physical affair, it was a complete parallel life. They had been sleeping together since February. He was going through a messy divorce with his wife, and his finances were a wreck. Then I hit the texts from the week prior. M. Did he sign the HELOC? Claire. Yes. He felt so guilty about the phone thing, he didn't even push back. The credit union approved the $120,000. M. Perfect. Once it hits the joint account, wire the $60,000 deposit to the LLC invoice I sent you. My lawyer said if we funnel it through my shell company for consulting and material procurement, it looks legitimate on paper. Claire. What if he tries to stop the second payment? M. Doesn't matter. Once the first $60,000 clears, I can pay off the margin call on my brokerage account so my wife's lawyers don't find it. Then you file for divorce. The debt is tied to the house, so Ryan is legally on the hook for half of it regardless of where the money went. Claire. I can't wait to be done with him. I love you. I dropped the phone. The air was sucked out of the room. She wasn't just cheating. She was using my house, my equity, and my signature to bail her lover out of a margin call in his own divorce, knowing full well she was going to stick me with half the debt when she left me. If she withdrew the money, it became marital debt. If I tried to sue Marcus to get it back, he had an LLC and a fake invoice to prove it was a legitimate business transaction for renovations. It was a civil matter. A legal nightmare that would cost me tens of thousands in attorney fees to untangle, with no guarantee of success. She was brilliant. She was evil. I didn't put the phone back. I took high-res photos of every single text exchange with my own phone. Then I put the burner phone in a padded envelope drove to a FedEx drop box and mailed it to a secure P.O. box I rented on the way. I went home, vacuumed the laundry room powder, and sat on the couch. When Claire got home from the gym, sweaty and smiling, she asked how my morning was. "Productive," I said. "Just doing some housekeeping." Part 3, the counter-strike. I didn't have a mastermind plan ready to go. I didn't have a dramatic PowerPoint. I was terrified. For the next 3 days, I lived in a state of suppressed panic. Every time I looked at Claire, I saw a stranger who was actively trying to ruin my life. Monday morning, I called off work sick. As soon as Claire left for her office, I drove straight to the best family law attorney I could find in Seattle. His name was Robert, a guy with a reputation for being thorough, unglamorous, and brutally pragmatic. I sat in his office and showed him the printed photos of the text messages. I explained the HELOC. Robert took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Ryan, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Your wife is smart. If she wires that money to an LLC, even a fake one, retrieving it is a forensic accounting nightmare. It falls under dissipation of marital assets, yes, but proving that Marcus's LLC didn't actually intend to provide materials takes years of litigation. In the meantime, you owe the credit union." "So what do I do?" I asked, feeling my chest tighten. "Do I cancel the line of credit? She'll know immediately. She'll know I found the phone. She'll just pivot and try to take half my 401k instead." "You can't cancel it without her knowing," Robert said. "But you can freeze it. You're a cosigner. We call the credit union's fraud department. We tell them you suspect your cosigner is under duress or falling victim to a contractor scam. They will put a hard lock on disbursements until an in-person mediation occurs." "She'll still know," I said. Robert leaned forward. "Let her know. But here's the twist. You don't just stop the money. You leverage the information. Marcus is going through a divorce, right? And he's hiding a margin call from his wife's lawyers." That's what the text said. If Marcus's wife finds out about his financial situation and the affair, his own divorce settlement explodes. He loses everything. We don't just play defense, Ryan. We play offense. We take away Marcus's safety net. That afternoon, I did 2 things. First, I went to the credit union in person. I sat down with a branch manager, presented my ID, and placed a hard freeze on the newly opened HELOC account, citing a pending legal dispute with the contractor. Second, I paid Robert a $5,000 retainer to do a rapid background check on Marcus. By Tuesday evening, Robert handed me a file. Marcus's wife was named Sarah. She was a pediatric nurse, and her divorce attorney was a woman named Helen Vance, a lawyer Robert knew well. I sent Helen the screenshots of the texts mentioning the margin call and the hidden assets Robert told me over the phone. I didn't say who they were from, just that they were relevant to her client's case against Marcus. I hung up the phone and waited. The trap was set, but it wasn't a neat, clean Hollywood trap. It was messy, and I knew it was going to hurt. The explosion happened on Thursday at 4 p.m. I was at my office when my phone started ringing. It was Claire. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. I finally answered. "Ryan, what the fuck did you do?" she screamed. Her voice was shrill, completely stripped of her usual cool corporate tone. "I'm at work, Claire. What are you talking about?" I kept my voice flat, monotone. "The bank. I just tried to process the wire transfer to the contractor, and they told me the account is frozen. They said you put a fraud alert on it." "Oh, that," I said, leaning back in my office chair. My hands were shaking, but my voice held steady. "Yeah, I was looking over the LLC you wanted to send the $60,000 to, Marcus's company. It didn't look right to me, so I froze the funds." Dead silence on the other end. For 5 agonizing seconds, she said nothing. "You went through my things again," she finally hissed, her voice dropping an octave. "You controlling psychotic piece of shit." "I found the iPhone 13 in the detergent powder, Claire," I said quietly. I heard a sharp intake of breath. The illusion of her dominance shattered right there over the cellular connection. Ryan, she started, instantly trying to pivot to damage control. Ryan, listen to me. It's not what it looks like. Marcus is getting a call from his wife's lawyers right about now, I interrupted. Someone anonymously tipped them off about his margin call and his little plan to use my house to bail himself out of debt. He's broke, Claire. And so are you. You did what? She whispered. The sheer panic in her voice was the only satisfying moment of this entire nightmare. Don't come home, I said. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow. I hung up and blocked her number. I left work early and went to the house. I packed 3 suitcases of her clothes, her shoes, and her laptop and left them on the front porch. I changed the locks. It cost me $400 for an emergency locksmith, but I didn't care. I sat in my empty house waiting for the euphoria of victory to wash over me. I had caught her. I had stopped the theft. I had blown up her lover's life. But the euphoria never came. Instead, I just felt a crushing, suffocating grief. This was my wife. This was the woman I had built a life with, who I bought this house with. She had looked me in the eyes and gaslit me to the point of a mental breakdown. All so she could steal from me. I ordered a pizza I didn't eat and cried on the kitchen floor. Part 4. The Fallout and the Price. The next 6 months were a brutal, grinding war of attrition. If you think catching a cheater red-handed means you walk away cleanly in court, you don't know the American legal system. Washington is a community property state. Even though I stopped the $120,000 theft, I couldn't stop the division of our existing assets. Claire didn't roll over. She hired a vicious lawyer and fought me for every single dime. She argued that the burner phone texts were illegally obtained and inadmissible. She tried to claim emotional abuse, bringing up the night I snooped on her primary phone to paint me as a controlling aggressor. It was exhausting. I missed days of work. I lost weight. I spent $25,000 in legal fees just defending myself against her endless motions. The unexpected twist didn't come from a dramatic courtroom reveal. It came from Marcus. 3 months into the divorce proceedings, my lawyer got a call from Marcus's lawyer. Marcus was completely underwater. His wife had taken him to the cleaners after the margin call texts surfaced. He was facing bankruptcy, and in a desperate bid to save himself, he offered to testify against Claire. He threw her completely under the bus. He provided emails from his corporate server proving that Claire was the mastermind behind the Haylock scheme, that she had drafted the fake invoices on her work computer, using her firm's letterhead templates. She wasn't a victim of a bad boss. She was the architect. When Claire's firm found out she was using company time and resources to draft fraudulent invoices for a shell company, she was fired for gross misconduct. But even with all that, the divorce still had a massive price. Because she was now unemployed, and because we had to split the equity of the house, I couldn't afford to buy her out of her half. I had to sell the house. That was the hardest day. Signing the closing papers on the house I loved, the house I thought I'd raise kids in. We split the proceeds. She got $80,000 from the sale, minus her legal fees. I got my half, minus mine. It's been 8 months since the divorce was finalized. I didn't get a magical promotion to senior lead engineer. I'm still at the same job, doing the same work. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in a slightly less nice neighborhood. I don't have a golden retriever. I have a rescue cat named Barnaby who hides under the sofa when the doorbell rings. I heard Claire is working as a mid-level manager at a logistics company in Portland, living with a roommate. Marcus declared bankruptcy and moved back to Ohio to live with his parents. They haven't spoken since he betrayed her in the depositions. There's no triumphant sunset here. I didn't destroy her life. She destroyed our life, and I just managed to jump out of the car before she drove it off a cliff. I still have days where I check the passenger seat of my car to see if anyone has moved it. I still get a spike of anxiety when someone's phone stays on Do Not Disturb for too long. The therapy helps, but the scars are thick and ugly. I won. I kept my sanity, I kept my savings, and I exposed the truth. But when people on Reddit cheer for these revenge stories, they forget the reality of the aftermath. You don't walk away from a nuclear blast without radiation burns. I survived. That has to be enough.